The list that we are about to play is so spicy that if it didn't come from a genius deck builder, and if it didn't top 3 a Legacy Showcase challenge, I would have believed that this was the ravings of a madman. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video. And today, as I alluded to, I've got something kinda crazy for you. Edison gave me a dealer's choice donation deck list, and I went hunting for the spice in the 5.0 deck list dumps and the challenge results. And I found this deck from Stryfo that got 3rd place in the Legacy Showcase Challenge, which is a relatively big event as far as Legacy events go. And this features an engine that we tried out, 6 months, a year ago, in Kishla Skimmer and Molt Tender. So Kishla Skimmer says whenever a card leaves your graveyard during your turn, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. This is your turn specifically, so you can't cheat it and get 2 per turn cycle. But then you are just going to have something that you can tap to make a mana and exile a card from your graveyard, hence drawing a card. And you do have some other ways to make cards leave your graveyard. You can turn Keen-Eyed Curator into, a 1-mana draw a card. And if that is repeatable, that's pretty cool. Now, this is similar in theory to a deck that Stryfo had 5-0'd with about a week earlier, which was a Hogak take on the same deck. I will try to remember to link to both of these in the video description in case you are interested in trying them out. But this was ultimately the one that he did when all the chips were down and it was time to kind of go hard and play serious. So this is the one of these that we are going to try out today. The deck building here is very interesting. And I think it can be summed up by, I don't know what Orcish Bowmasters is and it can't hurt me. A piece of the engine is vulnerable to Orcish Bowmasters. When you draw a card with your engine can be disrupted by Orcish Bowmasters in addition to that. You are playing Icefang Coatl, which dies to Orcish Bowmasters and triggers Orcish Bowmasters again when you actually draw that card. You also have Brainstorm here, notably bad versus Orcish Bowmasters. So this was just a no fear versus that card specifically. Well, why might we want to play this in this metagame? Number 1, it has white removal. Swords to Plowshares is so good in this format. It is one of the few removal spells that just truly hits everything with no real downside. We are seeing the black decks in Legacy right now so desperate to be able to hit every creature, and sometimes planeswalkers as well, that they are playing a 2-mana instant that you have to discard a card to destroy any creature. Because otherwise, if you don't play something like that, you end up playing some removal spell that has a real weakness. Go for the Throat misses Urza Saga Construct tokens, Shoot the Sheriff misses Broadside, very, very notably. Fatal Push misses Murktide Regent and larger reanimated creatures like Atraxa. So having swords is real. Having enough green cards in your deck to play Game 1 Endurance is real. Because as we know, we live in an era where it is probably objectively correct to be main decking Graveyard Hate. Because as of the time of recording, Oops All Spells is the number 2 deck in the format, and Blue-Black Reanimator is the number 1 deck. So if the number 1 and number 2 decks are both using their graveyards heavily, and most other Legacy decks lean into the graveyard at least a little bit for your Murktide Regent type cards, the floor on a lot of those cards is actually not all that bad. And so that you have your own broken eject button, you have Natural Order into Atraxa, which is a ton of refueling and a giant body that can stabilize the board. Now, the sideboard is pretty spicy. We have 2 large creatures in the sideboard. We have a Terastodon, which was a commander, absolute all-star when I was in college, that can beast within 3 different permanents when it comes into play. And you also have Ureni, the Song Unending. which has protection from white and black, meaning that most things in the format just simply cannot remove it. And when it enters, it deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or planeswalkers your opponents control, where X is the number of lands you control. At minimum, you are probably talking 4 lands if you natural order that out, so that can do something like take out a Bowmaster, take out an Orc token, take out some other little thing, and it can just be something that can help clear a Karn or a flipped Tameo or something like that. So we are going to see how it feels to play this one as the outsider today, like as the person who did not construct this deck list. How is this deck list going to feel? This is essentially Bant control that has 2 black sources, I think, so that you can cast your Leovold and your Atraxas. Control in Legacy, generally speaking, is a hard sell right now, which is why I am excited to try out something that was successful. When so many people can end the game on turn 1 or turn 2, and the threats are just so incredibly good. You know, Atraxa, Archon of Cruelty, Broadside, Murktide, even Tameo, if you want to think about it that way. Like, failing to answer a card for a couple of turns is often death in this format. So let's see how this specific control deck feels. And folks, if you need any Magic cards, please consider checking out my sponsor, TOAMagic.com. Promo code ThrabenU will save you 5% on your order. They will send you a sweet little sticker, and I've got one of those floating around here somewhere, because I just ordered basically an entire Commander deck from them. And I got to use my own promo code, save some money on that. The shipping was fast and free, and it was just, all in all, a great experience. If you want to order from one place instead of having 15,000 packages arrive over the course of a couple of weeks, check them out. With that being said, let's battle. All right. The Atraxa is in hand, which is not great. I'm not getting to Death Touch for Icefang Coatl anytime soon. I could on turn 3 have Kishla? I could have Kishla Skimmer if I play Hedge Maze on 1. I think I'm just going to value putting the Atraxa back in the deck here and take a mulligan, followed by a second mulligan. I was not trying to get that good of a hand here. Apparently we are on 4. Honestly, this is like quite good. I don't get to complain here. For a 4-card hand, this presents a path to victory. And we might be playing against a slower deck. We could also just be playing against Wasteland Recursion instantly, which would be very bad. This is so fucking funny. My opponent is going to play this and name a card in Oops All Spells, because that's where we're at as a format right now. Oh my god. I'm screenshotting this. This goes on the internet. Oh, that's so funny. Worth the price of admission, for sure. So Urza Saga ticks up. Opponent has a Thespian stage. They could copy an Urza Saga, and that would be a pretty cool way to grind games out. I am going to Hedge Maze this turn, looking for a white land, even though that is not the best use of my mana. In case my opponent just has Dark Depths in hand, I think I want to be able to answer the Merit Lage. The multicolor nature of my deck is a little awkward here, in that if I fetch white, I am not in any capacity working towards Icefang Coatl. Alright, opponent's just going to take a random card out of my graveyard, which is fine. I'm going to take 5 here, and then I can soak up a lot of damage next turn. Ooh, another Urza Saga. I'm going to go ahead and play the white land and pass the turn. Saga goes up to 2. I can, in theory, be attacked for 12. I'll go ahead and fetch. Green, green, green. White, blue. Doesn't super matter. Guess I'll go white, blue. Towards one of these. If I always want to commit to this line, I can do it on my own turn to, like, maybe make a difference of 1 life. I'm not entirely sure that my opponent is going to activate the Urza Saga, though, yeah. 10. So the next question now is, how robust is my opponent's Urza Saga package? Because if they have something like a blue Spell Bomb in their deck, they could just go and mess me up. Force of Will is nice. I might be missing a point of damage here. I am just going to Natural Order right now, though. I don't think I want to put myself in some situation where some card I am not thinking of gets me in combat. It can't be Endurance. I guess it could be Endurance if a crop rotation got involved. Grab Atraxa trigger. So the next Natural Order is significantly less good. I'm always taking this blue card to go with Force of Will. I think I always want Endurance in respect of Life from the Loam, despite the fact that, like, Skimmer is super cool. I will take Endurance. This is always my sorcery. And I guess I will take Misty in case I have the possibility of shuffling with Brainstorm. Although I don't super expect that to happen. So my opponent now has 2 5/5s, soon to be 2 6/6s. Sort of a funny thing that I can do is if my opponent makes these 7/7s, I can block with Atraxa, play Endurance to shuffle the Atraxa back into my deck, and then Natural Order it again. That's actually hilarious. But opponent is going for floating mana here, which might mean that we are on Expedition map for Dark Depths. Which means I'm going to want to... Oh, for Caracas. That is rather inconvenient, actually. Because I am at exactly 10 life, and Force of Will does not interact with that. Ooh, I'm dead. GG. And here I thought we had another turn or two before I was potentially going to die. Wrong. So I want things that answer Urza's Saga. A Pernicious Deed can clean that up and some enchantments like Exploration. I want these extra copies of Endurance, probably. And Force of Negation might be an upgrade to Force of Will, in that it exiles Life from the Loam, which is the primary thing that I want to counter. This can also answer a Merit Lage while being flexible. Maybe try to get this stuff in here, and I might want to think about Terastodon as something that can just nuke some lands, and it's non-legendary for the purposes of Caracas. If I do that, I theoretically need 4 more cuts. Leovold can maybe go. Teferi bounces Saga tokens, that's fine. I don't know to what extent I get to muck with this stuff. Let's assume that I can trim 1 of each. I bet I can get by without the Uro. Uro is blue and green for Force of Negation and Pitchcast Endurance. I don't have a Life from the Loam. It is very real. Try going down the Uro. And I end up green sunning for an Endurance a lot of the time anyway. These are reasonable Magic the Gathering cards. I think I will keep the hand, but there is some tension here between having all 3 of my colors and working towards the 3 basic lands. Yes. I will probably Prismatic Ending that on my turn. Miri's Guile as well, sure. This is your legal Sensei's Divining Top. This is probably becoming Snow-Covered Plains at the cost of blue in the short term, but allowing me to play around Wasteland. So let's Prismatic Ending, Exploration, drop another land. The Miri's Guile is not card advantage, but it is selection, and like Thespian Stage can come down this turn even off of 1 land drop, and my opponent could have a Merit Lage. I've got it covered with swords, but that threat is there already. Opponent needs a Mox Diamond. There goes Stage. I do not have the Force of Negation for that. I can get rid of Stage, or I can get rid of Life from the Loam. I think I'm going to get rid of Life from the Loam, just by hardcasting Endurance. Alright, so they have the Stage now. Get another Brainstorm. I think I'm just going to go ahead and take out this problem now. And then hopefully I only have 1 wave to deal with here. So hopefully I can answer the Merit Lage, and then we maybe take out the Miri's Guile if we find another Prismatic Ending type card, and then I start going into my mid-range game. All right, there is a Wasteland, which we respected by fetching a snow-covered land early on. We've drawn Terastodon, not what I am looking for. I'm going to go ahead and get in there. It is safer to not attack But I think if my opponent has the protection spell for their Merit Lage, they are in good shape to just win this game. Yeah, they're not even going to go for it until they have protection. Otawara played out as a mana-producing land. Okay, cool. So now I will have a blocker for this, even if I do attack. And all of my basics. 14. I'm going to go ahead and pass the turn here. Yeah, it's happening. I will respond to that. I will get my mana. And then this is going to resolve. I don't have Force of Wills to draw into. I only have Force of Negations. What's probably going to happen here is that my opponent names Swords to Plowshares. And then makes their friend. Now, swords cost 4 mana right now. My opponent gets their 20/20. And I'm going to have the chance to block it with Icefang Coatl, and then either hit a 4th land drop to Swords this or Brainstorm into an answer to it. But if my opponent has something that removes Icefang Coatl or like phases it out or something like that, then my opponent does win here. So let's see what they've got. Uh-oh. There is the crop rotation. There is protection from either green or blue. Either one does it here. Opponent goes protection from green. I draw my card. I try to block. I can't block. And I am unfortunately dead. Yeah, so opponent had 2 layers of protection there. They had the Disruptor Flute to stop my swords. And then they had the crop rotation to stop my Icefang Coatl. With only 1 layer of protection, we're fine there. But they threaded the needle well. And like, good on my opponent for waiting a turn. With Miri's Guile there, they had the ability to be patient. Because if they weren't patient, I will probably easily win the game from this position. GG's. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you want to see upcoming sets, if you want to understand commander brackets, or if you just want an awesome place to store all, and I mean all, of your deck lists, Moxfield is the place. You can organize all of your decks by folders, and you can even change the views. You like visual, they've got that. You like text, they've got that. Check out my Moxfield Pro Field if you want to see all, and I mean all, of the decks that I've been cooking up. My opponent has mulligan to 5, which makes me very nervous that I'm just going to die on turn 1 because I kept my hand. So let's hope that does not happen. I'll fetch, do a tropical island, so I look like I might have a counterspell even if I don't necessarily right now. And we're going to go pick up a Dryad Arbor. Okay, cool. Not oops. It is going to be an unfair deck of some kind. 4 mana. That is turn 1, the One Ring. Pretty good. I've got a natural order coming. I think I need a basic here in respect of Blood Moon effects. Prismatic Ending would, in theory, allow me to remove a Blood Moon. Let's grab the plains. I will to Fairy. I'm going to take that Chrome Mox out of play, and that is at least a start. If I hit another Green Sun, I can Leovold to help solve this problem. The City of Traders is slightly awkward for my opponent. They are going to cash it in. Doing Chrome Mox after floating mana. Imprinting Pyrogoyf. Probably playing another? Oh, it's Broadside instead. Sure. Flinging at my Dryad Arbor is devastating. My opponent might not know that. They might just like attack, kill Teferi, and then pass the turn. Like, they might not know that I am playing towards natural order. Oh, they just have another Chrome Mox to throw. That's rough. That doesn't float. That doesn't make mana. Okay. Goodbye, Dryad Arbor. I am going to sorcery speed Brainstorm here. Lunky. Yeah, it's just hard for me to use my mana here. Put back Uro and like an Ice Fang. I'm going to end up swordsing this. And I'm going to end up brainstorming again just to get through the cards. I think I will just do that now if I'm going to do it anyway. We will bury Atraxa, put an Uro on top, and pass. Opponent now gets 3 cards off of the One Ring. Makes a land drop. Goes to combat. I'm going to go ahead and swords that. Otherwise, there is a very good chance that I end up taking 8 damage from it. The top of my library is very unfortunate. I did not have any land cards there, which means that I can't Green Sun for Leovold to stop this. And the Atraxa is also 2 down right now, and I need that in deck for natural order. So I think the play here is Green Sun for 2, to get a shuffle. That is going to get me an Ice Fang Coatl. That draws me a card. And my hope is that between this draw and my next draw step, that I hit a land drop to natural order for Atraxa. That's the plan. But my opponent just drew 4 cards with the One Ring. And it's still at 16 life. And like Fury, Broadside, Pyroglyph all incidentally remove this creature. Yeah, the aforementioned Pyroglyph has arrived. Oh, just going at my face. That's very good for me. That's very, very good for me. Did I hit the land drop to take advantage of the fact that my opponent did not play around natural order? No, I did not. Damn it, we're out here trying. I don't get to Swords this because of Chalice. I don't get to double spell unless I hit a green land. If I play out Ice Fang Coatl at sorcery speed, then Fury gets better at taking out multiple creatures. So I think I don't try to hit the land drop here. I'm going to hold this back as a blocker. My life total is very precious. Yeah. Draw into Force of Will, please. Please. Draw. Fuck. Resolves. Opponent did that in a way where they took 2. I don't think they had to. I also don't know that it matters. They will just draw 5 cards with the One Ring and huck that at my face. We'll see if they do anything before blocks. I guess I could stop auto yielding. They don't. So I could double block Broadside and force like a throwing of a Chrome Mox or something. I don't know that that is actually profitable. I'm going to just block the Pyroglyph here. I don't think I'm in this one anymore. I'm at 11. My opponent draws 5. Oh. Okay. Just going to take out an Ice Fang Coatl. 5, 6, 7 plus 6 is still lethal next turn. And I am under a Blood Moon. And I did not draw a live draw. So again, these are mountains, and this is countered by Chalice. GG. Yeah, all it takes is another land there. And Leovold shutting this off makes that game so much more reasonable. Oh, I don't have ending in game 1. There was some line I said where I was playing towards ending. That was not actually true, apparently. Alright, I'm into these. I'm probably into this. Trying to set up this engine versus Fury and Pyroglyph and whatnot is very scary. Molt Tender can be a mana dork under Blood Moon. I think I am largely trying to get to natural order for Atraxa and hope that that wins the game. I think I am going to have a second target to shut off the One Ring, one that is a little easier on the mana and that costs less. I think I am willing to play both of these. And now I have to start thinking about, like, what don't I want? I think I'm going to get rid of Endurances. They do some stuff versus Pyroglyphs, but I don't know that it is enough. I maybe want a second natural order target here. This entering and clearing a board of smaller creatures is not the worst. Go like yeah. I want Keen-Eyed Curator as a 7/7 that I can maybe fish out. Maybe? Unsure. A lot of tension on my mana base in this Blood Moon matchup. So this has 2 lands through Blood Moon, but kind of does nothing. If I use Force of Will, pitching Uro, I am just fully reliant on the top of my deck. I don't think this hand is proactive enough. This is fine. I'm going to keep this, pitch the Bayou, Forest, Island, Plains. Alright, we've got our 3 basics this time, at least in theory. Blood Moon can come down on turn 1, though, so. Ancient Tomb, pitching a Spirit Guide, and playing a Trinisphere. Well, that's definitely going to slow me down. Going to be significantly worse versus a Fury. I think I am going to get my white land right now with basic plains. Grab blue mana by exiling one of these and drop the Skimmer. This gives me my draw a card each turn engine. A Fury would be devastating. Opponent takes a lot of damage this turn, and Pyroblasts. Okay, so I have a Green Sun, which can get me a Skimmer back. Is Uro currently in my sideboard? No. Uro is not bad either. I will have 3 cards in graveyard, but I also just have something that kind of wants to eat cards from my graveyard. I'm gonna fetch, and then I can look at this. I don't hate Leovold. I don't hate Uro. I don't hate Skimmer. I think I'm going to go Leovold. I think Uro is too taxing, and Leovold will draw a card if my opponent has another Pyroblast style effect. This hedges against the One Ring, this hedges against removal. Okay, not paying the life for that land, but using Ancient Tomb mana. That is a Fury. So yes, I would like to draw a card, and then yes, I would like to draw a card. So my opponent used 2 cards, I drew 2 cards out of that interaction afterwards. Brainstorm pretty bad versus active Trinisphere. I think I am just going to drop the Oof this turn, in respect of my opponent having the One Ring. That is another tapped land. It is the One Ring. So my opponent is playing that as a fog for a single attack. Playing out Molt Tender doesn't do much right now. I think I am going to cast the card Brainstorm while my opponent does not have Pyroblast available. Ooh, yeah, okay. I will bury Atraxa and put my green creature on top. A little bit of a weird position in that my opponent is somewhat likely to answer the Collector Oof, and if I get rid of the Collector Oof, it turns on the One Ring. So, City of Traders. Okay, they are just going to smashing my Collector Oof, which I cannot force of will due to Trinisphere. So now my opponent gets to start doing the One Ring things, which, as we saw previously, will eat me alive. Now, super unfortunately, the next card in my deck is Atraxa. So I can't play Molt Tender past the turn and then Natural Order for Atraxa the next turn. But I did board in Umeri, I think it's called, which is, I think, going to be my plan. It's really awkward that I kind of have to 2-turn this, but I'm hoping that my opponent just kind of ignores this creature and I get to Natural Order. Opponent's down to 8. And is probably not taking any more damage from that Ancient Tomb this game. The large number of creatures that happen to incidentally just kill my dorks is really rough. Now Natural Order is not on the table, and I have a bad draw. I will Brainstorm. We'll see if we can find a fetch land to shuffle here. Again, we're going to do this while Pyroblast is not available. I miss, and this isn't a mana source this turn, so I can't just take out Fury. But next turn, I can play Dryad Arbor and Natural Order at the same time. Let's put Atraxa back into deck. Can't cast this anyway. And I'm going to pass the turn not playing out Dryad Arbor. Opponent goes to 6. But this is horrifying. I can be very, very close to dead here if my opponent plays Broadside. Yep. So I am taking 8 here. Going to 9. And then we'll see what my opponent throws at me. There is a very good chance that it is just the ring, that my opponent just cashes that in. So they're playing a land, they lose city. Yep, I am at 3. So, I play land, 1, 2, 3, and 4, sacrificing Dryad Arbor. My Natural Order, it has to be for the thing that has an immediate impact on the board. So this is 5 damage divided however I want. So we got 3 damage here, 2 damage there. That clears the board and puts a lethal threat on board, but I am just dead to a Broadside or a Pyrogoyf, and my opponent has 5, soon to be 6 cards in hand. So I am not hopeful, and again, Trinisphere means I do not get to Force of Will. Oh, am I just dead now? Oh, it's Pyroblast. Sure. I'm dead to so many cards. Not dead to that. At least not immediately. Ooh, opponent is out of gas. Okay. I might be turning the corner on this game. I'm just going to pass the turn here. If my opponent does not play anything that I have to answer one way or another, I get to Ice Fang Coatl and start attacking. Okay. So there's Ice Fang. I'll draw my card. Land drop is fine. It is just a mountain. I am attacking. And now I'm in this funny position where if I cast Kishla Skimmer, I do not have Force of Will available anymore. I think that's happening. I think I just have to respect a Pyroglyph-style card just outright killing me. When it makes another land drop, I don't have anything to do with my mana this turn. Burrow. Burrow is pretty cool. Blue, green. I guess I'm not getting to blue, blue, green, green very easily. I take that back. But it is at least a redraw that lets me leave up both of my relevant spells. And the 3 life is literally doubling my life total. I'm going to keep making land drops. Sometimes at this portion of the game, you stop making land drops so that you can brainstorm things back. But I think right now with Trinisphere in play, I want to be able to multi-spell. So that's not lethal if it resolves. But it does shut off any future Force of Wills. And I can't really hardcast Force of Will through Blood Moon. So, okay. I will Force of Will, paying 3, pitching the Skimmer. And I may just die to my opponent playing a second card here. Not this time. I am going to hold this land. Broadside is fine. I will just Swords that. But I don't have the next thing answered now. Oh, deck. Oh, deck. That is 10 lands. The secondary Blood Moon is fine. That almost does something. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 1, 2, 3. I'll hold this, I guess. Dead to Pyroglyph, dead to Broadside, not dead to Mountain. We are both flooding out something savage here. Okay, that helps. That's Volcanic Fissure played as a land? And Floating Mana? Okay, I think my opponent tried to cast the land destruction side of that and messed up and clicked on the wrong part of the card. That's super unfortunate because they could have destroyed one of my basic lands here. Oh, that is a big mistake. Welcome to things that happen when you're playing online that don't happen in real life. I'm now going to make this as a land drop. I don't have black mana, but if I do get black mana from something like Molt Tender, Pernicious Deed is really strong to leave laying around. That was my opponent tapping 5 mana and then untapping it. They might be trying to play multiple spells in a turn, or they might want me to play out a creature first before they play out a Fury. Don't have a way to get value out of the Skimmer. My opponent might have a Fury. I think I'm going to call the fact that that could have been a bluff, not a bluff. That's fine. This may stop my opponent from saving up for multiple things in the same turn cycle, which is potentially something that just beats me. All right. So I am dead if my opponent draws something good. That is a Sundering Eruption. Cast properly. I will use the ability. This gets me towards green for natural order. So game's not over, but my removal has gotten notably worse. Perfect timing. Absolutely perfect comedic timing. That is a Karn the Great Creator, which is resolving. Presumably my opponent can now minus and get a 1 ring, and I very easily lose to it. Opponent is going for coding to take out my lands, which seems real good under the Blood Moon. They get to use this as Rishadenport for this next turn cycle. I think it's better to do the island or taking me off of a color. Maybe that's not true because of Dryad Arbor. Yeah, I take that back. Yikes. Okay, I mean, all my cards are dead. And I now start losing a land per turn cycle. I think losing either one of these is very close to game ending. It is just Lattice. Also, it occurs to me now that in sideboarding, I did not sideboard in Hydroblast. Very obvious mistake on my part. So now next turn, my opponent just Karn pluses on the Lattice, and I die. They don't even need to do anything else here. Ice Fang Coatl, you are just the tiniest bit too late to the party here. GG's. All right. Opening hand is maybe fine if we are playing a slower game. We shall see. I don't think this Green Sun is a Dryad Arbor here. I think I'm going to go ahead and just make a land drop and pass the turn. And hopefully we don't get reanimated. Polluted Delta fetches. Is Thundering Falls instead, which is perhaps most likely to be a Show and Tell deck, but could be something like a Corey Steelcutter deck. All right, opponent is stocking up. Now, stock up notably is card draw that does not interact with Leovold. Is Leovold what I am working towards with this Green Sun? Is that the most relevant thing? Probably. Like, I could try to get the engine going. I think the skimmer is getting pitched to Force of Will. I think that's where we're headed. Second main phase, Hipster casts their Brainstorm. Fetches. Goes to 14, casts a stock up. I don't think I am fighting over that, but I think I will use this as a moment to cast an Ice Fang Coatl. Sure. Opponent is going to clean up and discarding a land. Now I have Green Sun for X equals 2 available. I can just get more Ice Fangs to draw more cards. I get Death Touch on this as soon as I play one more land. I think I'm going to hold this back for sneak attack based reasons. I don't know, maybe if it resolves like Emrakul and Archon of Cruelty type cards already answer Ice Fang Coatl. Yeah, I'll keep pressuring my opponent. Send it. 13. I think the way that I'm going to approach this is actually get a Molt Tender right now. And then if I make it to my next turn, I can play the Skimmer and immediately draw a card by exiling this from the graveyard. We have never gotten to the point where we have Kishla, Skimmer, plus Molt Tender online, I don't think. But if you have multiple Skimmers, you can just exile a card and like it starts to become draw twos. Something's happening. That is the sneak attack. I'm going to Force of Will, pitching the Skimmer. Opponent Force of Will's back. So they win this fight. Sneak attack resolves. Sneak attack activates. There is Atraxa, which finds another Atraxa for next turn. And multiple counterspells and show and tell as well. This could have been worse. This could have been a lot worse. Alright, so what did they take? Sneak attack, show and tell, Atraxa, Brainstorm, City. Alright, I am taking 7. I take 7 for not holding Ice Fang back, unfortunately. 12. Well, it goes back to 16. I just do not pressure them in a timely fashion. And I think I do not want to draw my basic here. I'm just going to take it and put it in play. Traxa is also card draw that gets around Leovold. So I think then I am trying to find swords for Traxa. Make a green. Yeah, let's make a green. Draw my card. A new Ice Fang Coatl. Slightly awkward, but is a redraw towards a swords. Okay, there's a swords. So now I have Death Toucher left back. I could, in theory, do a love tap for 1, and I still have swords for a creature. Sure. Really not hopeful about this, though. 15. Sneak attack happens. Atraxa comes in, which I don't think I respond to with swords. Might be more important to remove something like an Archon of Cruelty. There's an Emrakul 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, even if I, in theory, block the Emrakul and take 4, I have no permanents left. We will tap out there. GG's. So I would like counter spells. That's Force of Negation and Hydroblast, and we'll probably Veil of Summer for Counter Wars. I will probably Terastodon as something to put in off of Show and Tell. This engine feels so incredibly slow in this matchup. Unite Curator can go. This is blue to pitch to Force Effects. Is that just what I'm doing with that card here? Maybe. Endurance is a flash creature that lets me hold up like Ice Fangs. Sorry. Let's say that differently. Ice Fang and Endurance are flash creatures that let me hold up Hardcast, Force of Negation, Hydroblast, Veil of Summer. My blue count's kind of low if I drop the Skimmers. I give up on that Endurance dream. I guess there's also timelines where I could like not play Natural Order and just try to peck with small creatures. This is fine. Hedge Maze. It's a redraw for me to do next turn. It's not overly impressive right now. Also a blue card that can pitch to Force of Negation in a pinch. Balk and pass. Sure. I am going to respect getting basic lands for Ice Fang. The Death Touch is absolutely relevant. Versus, say, an Atraxa that just comes in off of Show and Tell directly. Opponent tanked for a while on something and then made no plays. Play our Ice Fang Coatl. Opponent brainstorms in response. That's fine. I'll draw my card. It is a Brainstorm. I can have Pitch Cast Force of Negation with Veil of Summer backup right now if I don't tap out for something like Teferi. I think I'm just going to attack for 1 and call it a turn for right now. And play Teferi next turn. Opponent fetches to clear the Brainstorm. And surveils. Junking a Spell Pierce. Battle is fine. Land is fine. Seems like this is time to fight. Oh, it is just a stock up, which is a very good card. I could hardcast Force of Negation on it and then try to Brainstorm into another counterspell. I think I'm just going to let that go. I think my plan is play Teferi on my turn with Veil of Summer backup, and then have Force of Negation to stop a win attempt from my opponent. I think I am fine casting a Brainstorm. I will put back land, fetch a snow-covered land. All that good. Another Force of Negation. Not bad. So let's go Misty Rainforest, fetch, have 3 snow-covered lands. Play Teferi. Ooh, Teferi just sticks. That's cool. Plus Teferi. Send in for 1. I could do an instant speed Green Sun for Dryad Arbor if I think that's a good thing to do. Brainstorm is fine. Lotus Petal is fine. Biddy is fine. So there is a sneak attack. I will go ahead and Force of Negation that, pitching the Skimmer. Then we go back to my turn. I will plus Teferi again. I will send in for 1. And if my opponent puts something like a Brainstorm on the stack, I can Green Sun or Leovold in response to that. Let's just Force of Negation that, like so. Call that good. I'm okay with doing a Brainstorm now. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That'll do. Well, maybe put back Veil. I put Swords to Plowshares on top, I think. I can draw swords if I want it. And send in. On it doing a Surveil land at the cost of City of Traders. And passing the turn. I think I am willing to do this to use my mana. Let's Green Sun for 3. Put Leovold into play. We have now shuffled, so Swords is not on top anymore. This is fine. We'll just continue to plus this. I have hardcast Force of Will that my opponent can't fight over. And I Green Sun for something terrible if they don't have anything else to do. That is a sneak attack. No, absolutely not. This is an Uro. I'm going to go ahead and cast Uro, get my redraw. The swords, I'm going to go ahead and attack for 4. Then I think I'm going to go ahead and bounce my Ice Fang Coatl and replay that to draw a card. Hit a land drop. I don't have great interaction here. I could play the Skimmer. I think I'm just going to hold up Swords, though. The Skimmer is lethal next turn. Alright. Put a win on the board. It's a game 2, so I'm already sideboarded. This feels about appropriate. I think I'm okay with this. That is a hand that has a natural Terastodon in hand, but really has no ability to cast spells other than Force of Negation. I don't think I like this. Second hand's fine. I think I am going to get rid of the Natural Order, despite the fact that it is, in theory, a very good card that allows me to do something that is cheating in terms of power level. But I think I don't survive until Natural Order, unless I make some other plays in the early game. Tropical Island does not cast Leovold specifically, so I think I'm going to go ahead and bin that land. Opponent goes for a Surveil land here, and junks Force of Will. So either they've already got protection, or they are looking for something like lands or their payoff card. That one casts Leovold. That's nice. I will leave open the possibility of Brainstorm plus fetch here. Opponent fetches again. Not a Surveil land. That was just raw deck thinning, right? Yeah, no cantrip cast or anything. Okay, that is scary. I don't have Wasteland. Let's formulate a new plan. This Force of Negation plan is maybe not gonna do it. We'll get rid of a couple of things. I'll fetch. Do I have another Surveil land? I don't. I also need black here, so I guess I get Underground Sea. Alright. Teferi is a lot less good when your opponent can make stuff uncounterable. And this is the next spell. It's not like the next instant or sorcery specifically. It is the next spell. I think I am still going to go for Teferi first over Leovold. Let's go green-white in respect of natural order. Opponent very quickly tapped that island and then now is thinking about it. So my opponent's next spell can't be countered. Are they just going to do an uncounterable Spell Pierce or Pyroblast maybe? Oh, something weird happened there. The Mistrise Village appears to have given Teferi that. Oh, that's really messed up. Alright, I've told my opponent to file for reimbursement. Bear Games is usually pretty good about doing that sort of thing. I'm just going to go ahead and plus on nothing here and pass the turn. My opponent has a Pyroblast. They can just do it and like Pyroblast the Teferi, and I get a Time Walk out of this. That can't be countered, so I can't protect it with Force of Negation. But like that means that my opponent maybe like did not show and tell this turn, right? Like this is 3 mana for show and tell plus go. So bam, bam, bam. Leovold is in play, but these counterspells that I have as interaction aren't going to do their job. Yes. Lots of mana. That's a Magus of the Moon that cannot be countered. I have 1 basic. I'll brainstorm while I can brainstorm. Yikes. Alright. Now, this does shut off Mistrise Village, though. So my counterspells are live again. So we'll see whether or not this ends up being a good or bad thing for my opponent. 15. There's Basic Island. I'll take 2. And if all we do is punch each other back and forth in the face, this does favor me. But my opponent is going to have like castable win conditions and stock ups and such. So let's not get excited. Brain Sun, not what I'm looking for right now. 9. That is a sneak attack. I think I Force of Negation that. Junking an Ice Fang Coatl. And I don't have any blue cards to pitch, and I don't have green mana for Veil of Summer. So that is happening. There is sneak attack for Emrakul, and I am unfortunately dead. The opponent ends up winning that one despite the bug. GG's. Alright, I have a mediocre hand here that I think I'm going to keep. I can brainstorm this Atraxa back or pitch it to a Force of Will if need be. Pitching it to a Force of Will is really awkward though. Yavimaya. Exploration. I am going to counter that, I think. This being my only large creature in the Game 1 deck is very awkward for this decision. Because my swords are presumably not that good. I think I'm going to Force of Will and pitch the Atraxa and keep the Brainstorm. Now the secondary awkward decision is like, am I surveilling here and making myself worse versus Wasteland? I think the answer is yes. Riot Arbor can go to Graveyard. Awkward. I think I'm just going to go ahead and pass the turn here. I don't want to pitch that Brainstorm. Thespian Stage, Sylvan Library. I will pitch the Brainstorm. This means my remaining stuff is really awkward, though, because my 1 Surveil land was not white. There is the natural order after I have pitched the Atraxa. Game's going great. Just Dark Depths me right now. Soul Guide Lantern. Goodbye, Dryad Arbor. And Ghost Quarter. Uro is not good yet. Will maybe be good in a minute. There is Urza's Saga, which is currently poised to eat me alive. I'll float a mana. I say yes. I'm going to pick up basic planes here, I think. Life from the Loam Ghost Quarter would kind of be disastrous, though. It's not only Life from the Loam Ghost Quarter for all of my lands, but it's also Life from the Loam Urza Saga. Yeah. Feels like that is going to beat me. We'll keep playing for a minute, but I feel done already. Saga goes up. Yeah. Now it's Ghost Quarter plus other thing every turn. I am going to tap out here. I don't think this is worth playing anymore. Let's get some copies of Endurance and Force of Negation in here for Life from the Loam. Let's get Prismatic Ending for Exploration. Maybe play a Pernicious Deed for Urza Saga tokens. Against my opponent's deck that can tutor up Karakas, am I supposed to just give up on Atraxa? Like, is that the way that I do this? Instead of boarding Terastodon in, I just, like, don't play the natural order package? Just be reliant on beating my opponent down with fair creatures? Sure. Maybe play a Grist as something that can just infinitely plus versus a single Urza Saga token. Round out the top end of my deck if I'm removing a bunch of threats. This feels mediocre. I will throw down my Molt Tender and... like, I have a turn 2 Planeswalker of some flavor. Hopefully that's fine. Bounce a Mox Diamond with Teferi. Sylvan Library is very good, obviously. I'm not going to pressure my opponent's life total that much. I could try to get the Skimmer going. Can't use the mana super well, though. I'm going to fetch. I'm going to do Underground Sea. I'm going to drop Teferi. I get value by bouncing the Mox Diamond out of play and pass. My hope is that I hit more lands to continue to be able to deploy cards easily. That's a disaster. Yavimaya and Thespian Stage. So Thespian Stage Urza Saga is online. Miss on land drops. Maybe we hit here? You do that the other way. These aren't working towards Death Touch. Get an Endurance. I'll pass the turn here. And mill a card with Molt Tender, and then it turns into a Mana Dork the following turn. Yes. Opponent gets their Sylvan Library trigger, and I think they can beat me, however they damn well please. Making another Urza Saga token immediately is great. Making a copy via Thespian Stage is great. Making a 2020 via Merit Lage is great. Looks like we are going the 2020 route. Oh no, it's Wasteland. Sure. Opponent could Wasteland me now, or they could Thespian Stage, Wasteland, and then Wasteland me. That's Life from the Loam. I think this is worth pitch casting and Endurance. That is a lot of immediate value. This does not answer the Life from the Loam itself, though. Just stops my opponent from getting all of the goodies right now. Opponent does not attack. I will mill a card. Mill a Green Sun. Missing these land drops is disgusting, because with one more mana, I get to go 1 mana, 2 mana, Keen-Eyed Curator, eat Life from the Loam, and then I just missed. Ah! So I will junk a card from my graveyard, play out the Skimmer, I think hold back. I'm not pressuring my opponent's life total, so they can draw some more cards with Sylvan Library if they want. I'm very happy that the dredge that they just did off Sylvan Library missed. Sure. Another Saga is bad. Another Crop Rotation is worse. I think they just Wasteland me. Yeah. Then it's Life from the Loam for Wasteland, replay Wasteland. Thanks, I hate it, I guess. I guess I try to pivot into killing my opponent. It's just very hard, because they are just threatening a 2020. I think I'm starting here. Attack for 4 and Green Sun for Dryad Arbor. To hell with drawing cards. Or do I attack for 3 and produce another Skimmer? That might be better. What, blue? Exile a card. Draw a card. Ending. Ending is cool. I think I am on the play more flyers train. Send it. I have lethal on board. Saga ticks up to 2. Surveil land. Junking another surgical. Swords on one of these. That keeps my opponent alive. That's the second land drop. I'm not getting wastelanded immediately, so that's nice. Getting wastelanded in upkeep. I don't have a way to use this mana right now, unless I draw into a way. I think I will just let that happen. Okay, swords is fine. And attack for 3. Opponent goes to 2. And I think I don't risk dropping swords for like... oh no, opponent does not have any cards in hand. Okay. Then let's go blue here. Junk Savannah. Draw a card. You can make your construct. I hit Dryad Arbor. which is a land drop if I don't find anything better to do. But I do, so I can put back Dryad Arbor. I didn't hit white mana, but I did hit mana. Pretty far away from Grist. Maybe that's not true. I'll keep Grist. Dryad Arbor, Green Sun. Play Forest. Green Sun for 0. Pick up Dryad Arbor. Alright, lethal in the air. Opponent can use Sylvan Library to select, but they don't get any more cards. I am at 21 specifically, meaning a hasty Merit Lage does not kill me. Opponent is floating mana, getting map, sacrificing map, getting Maze of Ith, and playing Dark Depths. So let's do a quick lethal check. My opponent can block 2 things. If I attack, well, kind of 3 things. If I attack all out, my opponent takes 1. If I tap Molt Tender or Prismatic Ending on Construct token, I draw a card. I could attack all out, my opponent takes 1. If I attack all out, I then can't Prismatic Ending Dark Depths. So I think I'm going to assume that I don't kill this turn, but I kill next turn. This Life from the Loam is very threatening right now. I think I need to eat that with Keen-Eyed Curator. I think what I'm going to do is free combat Keen-Eyed Curator, go to combat. This doesn't force the action on this. My opponent can maze this, take 1. Okay, I think I'm just not going to do anything. But I should have eaten then if I wasn't going to do anything. My mana is a little awkward here. I have to hold up Molt Tender for swords in case things get weird. Yep. You've got your 20/20. I can swords that now. I am trying not to. It prolongs this game by a lot to swords, but by not Molt Tendering on my own turn, I don't get to draw the card for Kishla Skimmer. That is a new wasteland on Dryad Arbor. Sure. And opponent concedes. They're not literally dead, right? I attack in with all 4. They block 2, maze 2. So the lethal is not showing, but I guess I have 4 cards and they assume that I will find it. How do I feel about this natural order nonsense? My opponent basically killed themselves with Sylvan Library, so I got to steal a game with the Skimmers. This may be fine. Like, this is one of my easiest ways to stabilize versus Urza Saga tokens, but the fact that they can find map and Caracas is very awkward. This is an okay assortment of value-oriented Magic cards that hopefully end up finding me more lands. Ooh, opponent has super quickly mulliganed to 5. Wasteland is awkward. I want to delete on Hedge Maze to find more land. I think I am still doing that. Yes. So hopefully this is just a 1-for-1 trade. That's happening. And I can kind of pick 2 of my colors to have basic lands for. One of them has to be green. I think I am going green-blue. Yeah. And we will grab the Dryad Arbor. Savannah? It's here. Can't Leovold this turn. I could Prismatic Ending a map, but that would come at the cost of another land. I don't think I can do that. I'm going to do this at sorcery speed in case I draw a Molt Tender, which I did not. Send in for 1. 19. Opponent did not dredge Life from the Loam. They are instead cracking a map. Yeah. I will pay for my stuff. That does not get basic plains, but I believe there is another basic forest in there. Alright. The cantripping Icefang Coatls not feeling very good into Tabernacle. Next turn, I can maybe think about playing a Leovold. Yeah, I can't Prismatic Ending that with the resources that I currently have access to. Sure. This is very awkward. Pay for 2 of them, go 1, 2, 3 for Leovold, or leave open 1, 2, 3 for Prismatic Ending. I think I'm just going to let 1 Icefang go. That is a Molt Tender. I will ignore that for the moment and drop Leovold. Leovold pretty good against Sylvan Library. Pretty good against Wasteland Recursion. Opponent's at 17. But I don't have Wasteland, so I don't get to get rid of Tabernacle. Alright, opponent is going to Wasteland me. I draw a new Molt Tender. Not really looking for things that look like this right now. Pay. We are turning dudes sideways and hoping for the best. That is now a Swords on Leovold. We'll draw another card. My opponent had that. They could have done that prior to the Wasteland, right? And that is just a better line. Ooh. Okay. Hello, Moto? Oh, I frozen up. Okay, there we go. I was worried I was going to have to restart. I'm going to go ahead and drop a Molt Tender. An attack for 1. 16. I think this is worth the card to just do now. The Sylvan Library is still a problem without Leovold here, though. And I'm behind enough on clock that I'm going to start F6ing my opponent's turns when I can. Hopefully they don't draw a bunch this turn, which they did. All right, let's stop yielding. Say yes. I pick up basic planes here. My opponent has Ghost Quarter. Hopefully they don't find Life from the Loam. Famous fucking last words, huh? Ghost Quarter Life from the Loam eats me alive very quickly. Think I'm out? Yeah. How am I winning? My board doesn't really race Ghost Quarter Tabernacle. Excluding Dryad Arbor, I do 2 damage per turn. I leave myself with 3 mana available to eat that Life from the Loam after drawing the Raccoon. That's an out. I'm going to pay to keep that. I'm going to get rid of Ice Fang Coatl. I'm going to leave green, and also this attack available. Did not get what I am looking for. Fetch something. White mana. Get blue mana by taking a card out of my graveyard. Blue-white 1 to fairy. Take that Sylvan Library out of play. I don't want to draw cards that look like this. Opponent dredges, misses, but still has Ghost Quarter, which means our turn is just A-okay. Turns out 2 mana rebuyable Sinkhole is good, and my deck just does not present a fast enough clock. Stop this. That'll do. Teferi plus, make a mana. The Life from the Loam and the Ghost Quarter are in there right now. Now I have a somewhat respectable clock. Blast Zone can't be activated immediately. The Swords is rough. Sylvan Library comes back. Okay. I will pay for my creatures. That's not bad. Plus Teferi. White mana. Exile a card from graveyard. On Sylvan Library, white and 1. Get rid of that shit. Punch with Dryad Arbor. My Molt Tender is perhaps not long for this world now. Alright. I am just gonna Teferi take a card immediately here. What if I Ice Fang? Sure. Just take that extra value that way and kind of play around Tabernacle, kind of. Alright. Land drop. Fetch. White source. Get blue. Ice Fang. Alright, I've got something to pitch to a Force of Negation if my opponent finds a banger. Thespian Stage is annoying. Flooded Strand. Oh, this is not actually holding up white mana. Whoops. Brainstorm. Endurance is, I guess, cool. I get rid of Molt Tender and 1 Swords to Plowshares. I'm gonna keep that as a mana source. And in for 1, which is actually 0. Alright, let's just always yield to that. Okay. Pretty likely to time out here. Yep. I need to be going wide versus Maze of Ith. That's very bad. I'm gonna fetch. Get drop. Make a mana. Cast Endurance. Target you. Another Swords. Get lost. I'm not gonna read that card. I'm just going to counter it. It gives me some kind of token. Teferi is cool. I'm just gonna plus with it this turn. Send everyone sideways for 1 point of damage. The Teferi is gonna sit in play to kill a construct token when my opponent makes it. Opponent's at 9. That is another get lost. Target creature I control explores. Got it. Brainstorm. Skimmer is cool but very slow. There's blue green. Go to combat. Send in. This doesn't actually accomplish anything. Yeah, I'm just timing out here. There's an expedition map or a 3rd Maze of Ith. All right, at this point, I'm just gonna concede. I don't think I get over the line in 19 seconds. If I play this one a little faster, I think I probably end up winning this game. But this deck is very slow. GG's. Alright, I have a hand of Magic the Gathering cards here. I am not really impressed with my hand. Hopefully we have a slower matchup where we can actually get some stuff off the ground here. There's a Tamiyo, which is immediately threatening, unfortunately. Hopefully I just play some decent-sized creatures and I don't have too much to worry about here. It's weird, because I want triple basic or Ice Fang Coatl or Death Touch, but I also need green for endurance. I think I'm going to start out on the basic, but there's no guarantee that we stay going that direction. That is a Steam Vents in Legacy, so this is 100% a straight blue-red deck. That is just the 5th Volcanic Island. Opponent Lightning Bolts my creature, now I don't get to Endurance immediately. And that happening is quite bad. If I want to do this turn, I take myself off of the 3rd basic for Ice Fang Coatl. And make myself wastelandable at the same time. This doesn't attack into the backside of Tamiyo successfully. I think I need to play my 3/3. So let's fetch. We grab a Trop. The Curator, unfortunately, will die to another Lightning Bolt effect or will get dazed. Hey, there we go. There's Volk. There's a Bobble. What Tamiyo is doing is so much easier card advantage than all of the hoops that I am trying to jump through here. There's a Ponder. There's a Bobble. Racking 1 Bobble. And the second. 2 draws here for Tamiyo. There's a Swords. Because I had to get Trop, this is now not a Death Toucher to try to ambush this and then Swords in response to a Brainstorm. Which is sort of frustrating. Also frustrating is, like, I want to ambush this in combat, but for, like, waiting, my opponent could, like, pre-combat Murktide Regent. Alright, there's Tamiyo. I'm going to attempt the ambush, which I don't expect to work. Force pitching another Tamiyo. Yep, absolutely. Hopefully the Tamiyo does not flip now. Alright, cool. So it looks like I am going to get to Swords to Plowshares this Tamiyo before it transforms. Which is nice. I am much worse at answering the backside. Ooh, that's insane if it sticks. I'm going to go for it. This is dazable, but if it sticks, like the clue tokens are offline and Lightning Bolt at worst cantrips, sure. There's a Corey Steelcutter. Right, Lightning Bolt will cantrip. So do I have Prismatic Ending only in post-sideboard games? Yes. So Corey Steelcutter just lives there unless I bounce it out of play with Teferi. Okay. Fine with this. I think I am fine with this at sorcery speed. I'm worried that the damage is just done from the early game with the Tamiyo. I think my opponent got 3 clues out of it. Yikes. That was very aggressive. I will maybe Swords to Plowshares a Monk token. But there are scarier things that I might want to address. Like Murktide Regent comes to mind here. Yep. The 1-for-1ing versus a Monk token feels really bad here. I don't know that I can just take the damage and, like, I probably am forced to do this next turn. I think I am trying to buy time and hope that my BS card advantage that exists in this deck manages to cobble itself together. That is not happening right now. I need something like an Uro. Flooded Strand is not it. So now these cantrips are just going to keep creating monks, and so every time I 1-for-1 with a monk token, I'm not really trending in the correct direction. Yeah. And now my deck just has a bunch of really bad draws in it, right? Like the Molt Tenders and the whatever the Skitterer thing is called are just like singularly bad draws right now. So I can Force of Will, and that lines up very poorly. Like any spell that my opponent casts is worth 2 damage. Okay, maybe not any spell. I will counter that. I'm still taking 3, and my opponent can use their mana to clue token here. What if I rip Natural Order? Fetch Dryad Arbor, Natural Order. Or we could draw Windswept Heath. And my opponent does their clue token stuff. Any spell, well, any non-creature spell kills me here. I live to see another day. I'm at 2. I drew Green Sun. I can Green Sun for Uro. That's 4 mana. Be a high roll. So fetch, go to 1. Green Sun for Uro. Go to 4. Fetch down to 3. The card that I get from Uro is a land. And I play Uro again. I could do something like Endurance, but then any non-creature spell kills me. So I think I'm going to try to high roll the Uro line. I think I do not fetch until after I get the Uro, so that I have the highest chance of drawing a land. Cool. All right. So now I can get a couple of things that look like this. And I need to evaluate natural order. The giant lifelinker is real, but it may just be that I can, in theory, beat my opponent with Ice Fangs and Endurances and Keen-Eyed Curators. I don't know, like maybe I don't want Force of Will on the Pyroblast matchup. This is also Pyroblastable. I'm going to want these, and then I can like think about another natural order target. I can think about Veil of Summer and Hydroblast as well. If I get rid of these, that is 59. Play Grist is 60. Try to play fair stuff. Try to go bigger than my opponent. This is too much mana. I think I'm just going to keep it, but I think this is too much mana. I'll play a land and pass. I think the plan with this hand is if my opponent plays a 1-drop creature, I wait to play Swords to Plowshares around days, and I just slow the entire game down by a turn cycle. I think I always want this to be the basic planes, and I never want to draw that card. Oh, are you going to stifle me? No. So we've got answers to stuff. I'm not going anywhere quickly. Second land drop from my opponent. They're not going anywhere quickly either. I will just not use my mana and pass. And now I can start doing like Ice Fang Coatl stuff at end of turn. There's another land drop from my opponent. I can look at the top card of my library, but like I am going to just shuffle. You can look at the top card of your library too if you want. If they want. And that's like some amount of small value because of the fetch land. I'm going to find my other basics here. Snow-covered forest, and then snow-covered island. An opponent might just like red elemental blast this or whatever. It's cool if it resolves. If it doesn't, I have traded with a resource still. It does resolve, that's great. Brainstorm is fine. My opponent gets some redraws. Hydroblast is fine. I go ahead and just send in with my Ice Fang Coatl. I'm not going to fight over that. That I'll fight over, but I'm not going to use the Hydroblast on that. I will just use the swords, even if my opponent gets a little bit of graveyard-oriented value out of casting a spell from it. I think I'm going to go ahead and let my opponent surveil. Just turn it into a 3/3. My opponent can have 2 more life. Life is not what this game is about. Card advantage is. It's like my Corey Steelcutter. Sorry, their Corey Steelcutter versus some of my top end like Planeswalkers and Uro. Surgical Extraction on Swords to Plowshares is kind of rough. I've got one in hand too. But at the very least, I want to brainstorm and not have the swords in my hand. If I had another mana, I could hardcast an Endurance and stop this. I don't think it's worth pitch casting Endurance. If I pitch cast Endurance and then my opponent were to counter, it would be disastrous. I'm going to throw back swords, and then let that resolve. And then this is a free shuffle for me, so I don't have to crack Misty Rainforest immediately. Now this is a difficult to answer Murktide Regent. I was hoping to dodge that. I have things like Teferi that can answer that. Let's go land drop 1. I think I will Uro immediately. Get a Savannah. Sacrifice Uro for now. I'm going to play Keen-Eyed Curator. Fetch. Basic? Basic seems fine. And just start going after things in my opponent's graveyard to make a follow-up Murktide harder to cast. Blue, green, green. Not blue. Lightning Bolt. Sure. Seems good. Maybe this forest needed to be a trop. This can block the Murktide Regent. Get Endurance myself to draw a card. I don't think I'm going to go that desperate. I think I'm going to grow my opponent's Murktide by 1. Take out the rest of the graveyard and do this. This is not enough to block and kill the Murktide in combat, but it does in theory buy me some time. Land drop 5 from my opponent. I think I'm going to chump with Endurance and like maybe hope to do the Uro thing here. Nope, I drew a dead card. Well, okay, it's not a dead card, to be fair, but it is not good in the current situation. I'm going to get one more turn to draw something cool. Opponent is going to Surveil. Not going to Surveil. Another land. I mean, they're flooding out, but like they have a Murktide region in play, so you know. Okay, that is fine. Let's now go. Well, I guess I can make the land drop. So now let's go green, green. Or no, I need to fetch. Yeah, green, green, blue, blue. I have Leovold indeed and stuff. Cast Uro. On cast, I will get to draw a card. Do not have Hydroblasts available right now. I get Pyroblasted. So this is like super relevant. That is a Molt Tender. I mean, I'll play it. I have to chump block with this. I am dead to a Lightning Bolt style card by having 2 Hydroblasts in hand. Wasteland is relevant. So I have to block. Get my next draw. Uro puts me to 8, which is fine. I'm just going to take a quick look. I could Grist here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Green Sun for X equals 3. And Grist. Grist minus with Molt Tender. Kill this. I'm into it. Uro next turn. Grist. I will have to do something a little weird here. I'm going to activate Grist, hold priority, because I don't want to give my opponent a priority pass to Lightning Bolt. I guess Lightning Bolt is still a problem. My opponent can't have Lightning Bolt and Daze. I will just mill a card. Sacrifice this. Destroy Murktide. Uro coming. Hydroblast for red stuff. Hydroblast the shit out of that. Yeah. Last card could be Daze. It's not. That's very good. Alright. We might have stabilized now. Without swords. Uro. Not Uro. I have green. I don't have blue, blue. Okay, we're not stable yet. Ponder is happening. Now if my opponent Murktides, I can Grist minus again. So Lightning Bolt killing Grist opens the door for a new Murktide related death. Brainstorm is happening. This is a very tense moment for the opponent. That is a Tamiyo. I have Prismatic Ending for that. That is a Lightning Bolt on Grist I have a Hydroblast for. Okay, we're fine. And now this Tamiyo can't flip. The Prismatic Ending on Tamiyo. Get it dead. And that's enough for my opponent to concede. So the way that I was probably going to finish out that turn is going to be a Green Sun for Endurance to make it so that my opponent can't Murktide. Oh, that was tense. So my opponent has Surgical or Swords to Plowshares. I have other removal. And like I won that game through that. Do I need the top end of Natural Order? I think no. But I'm not really sure. I'm going to try to keep this. This has 2 lands. They can both be basics. This can like try to start out the game doing the thing that I want and then pivot into powerful 3-drops. Opponent shocks and DRCs. And baubles. Getting a Wasteland. Which I think, despite the fact that I'm going to open up this game on basics, is still a positive for me. Like, at some point, I'm going to need black mana. And I might need black mana for multiple turns. Let's just churn in through baubles. Takes their redraws. Ice Fang is fine. We will get the basic and do Molt Tender. Opponent has their next land drop. I am losing my mana dork, which is awkward because not only is it my mana dork to cast my 3-drops, but it's also my card advantage for Skimmer. So it's a pretty big blow. And Ponder. Sorcery's not in graveyard yet, so I am going to get punched for 3 this turn. Going to 16. I need more land here. Murktide's scary, Corey Steelcutter scary, Daze is scary, everything's bad. I think I'm going to cast Sorcery Speed, Ice Fang Coatl to try to draw another land here. Nope. Before my opponent can have Pyroblast open to counter this while it is on the stack. Alright, there's another Wasteland. Scary card. There's Corey Steelcutter. I think I'm in okay shape if I draw a land. And Stone Cold Dead if I don't. Yeah, that's terrible. I don't have Death Touch yet. I will take 5. I'm at 11. I've missed on my land. I've also drawn a card that I can't cast. I don't think I am into pitch cast Endurance on myself to draw a card here. Don't think I am quite that desperate, but I might need to be that desperate next turn. Ponder from my opponent. Another Corey Steelcutter. No way in fuck I'm beating that. Absolutely not. So opponent sends in, they get their clue. I am taking a lot of damage. I think I am just going to trade with something while I can hopefully trade with it. I'm at 5 life. I need a land. I did hit it. I think I'm going basic forest. Don't daze me with your last card. This stops Murktide Regent from being relevant and shrinks DRC. But all my opponent needs to do is play 2 spells in a turn, and the Corey Steelcutters eat me alive. The clue token from Tamiyo, followed by the more other clue token from Tamiyo, should make that very, very easy to do. Maybe not this turn, but soon. All right, Tamiyo is sending in for a clue. Opponent just cracks that now to transform Tamiyo, which is bad. I can't really attack that Planeswalker when I am so close to dead. Maybe I have to. I'm going to start by seeing if this resolves. It does. I'm going to do that, targeting my opponent. I'm now going to try to Swords. I think the Prowess token. I think there is a better chance that this hits for more damage than this card. And we're going to do this with this Endurance trigger still on the stack, so that if my opponent responds, I do exile whatever counterspell they use. All right, I'm at 4. This is a Prowess creature. So if my opponent casts 2 spells, could hold back and try to play towards Grist. Grist to kill Tamiyo. Like, playing conservatively versus Corey Steelcutter is rough. I get Wastelanded off of Weight. Tamiyo to 6. Pyroblast. That's spell 1 and a body down. Lightning Bolt is beyond lethal. That's 2 sets of monks, 3 direct damage to face. I will concede there. That was a brutal beating of this league. All right. Overall thoughts on the deck list. I do not like it. This obviously worked for Stryfo, scoreboard. But I feel like at so many stages of the game, these are just bad cards. Like when you curve one into the other and everything works perfectly, it can be a really cool card advantage engine over time. But I was running into assorted problems throughout the league. Number one, the mana-based tension between being this 4, I guess technically 5 color deck and like wanting to have triple basic for Icefang Coatl. Like that was a real problem. Having too many green cards for Force of Will was a problem. I'm not very good at digging for the cards that I need. We don't have Ponder in this deck. This is a Brainstorm only deck. If you are on Icefang Coatl in the early game, you often knock yourself off of like some number of these 3-drop cards in terms of curving them out naturally. So I think this deck works for the person who built it, who knows exactly how they are approaching all of the matchups with it. But as someone just picking up this deck from the outside, this felt very clunky. And I don't think I would recommend this one. By no means did I play this perfectly today, but I think I would rather be slamming haymakers than trying to set up an engine in Legacy right now. And that is... Where did my camera go? How long has I been gone? Well, I'll find out when I look through the video, I guess. All right, with that, I am going to call it a day here, and I hope you all enjoyed. If you need some cards, you know where to go. See ya!